This is The Bridge. Welcome to AMF Studios. We're out back in Essex, countryside, enjoying the breeze. It's cold, so let's go in.
Okay, The Bridge. How long have you been producing for, man?
I'll say in total about 6 years. Professionally, I'll say about 4 years, 3 years.
Okay, and what got you into it in the first instance?
Literally, it was a case of one of my mates introducing me to a program named Fruity Loops. Like, it's a common program, everyone starts off on it. Those were the days when I was young in school. I had a PC to do my homework on. And he brought me a copy of Fruity Loops to put on the PC because he was showing me his beats at the time. And I was like, yeah, I want to do this. Like, I was always into music anyway, regardless, because my dad's a DJ from the Soundboy days and my mum's an ex-Lovers rock singer in the reggae field. So it's always been something that I would have eventually got to, but he was the one that gave me that initiation with the disc.
Did you get involved in any live instrumentation at all?
I used to play around because I got my first keyboard from my gran. And I used to play around on that. It actually had like a little like basic MPC on it. Yeah. The old school ones where it used to play loops on the old keyboard, so I used to always mess around with that. So yeah. It was like once I got into the software, it didn't feel strange to me. Yeah. Starting off on it, it was just like, okay, cool, now I can do it properly. Okay. Yeah.
And what sort of music was you dabbling in? Like, what genres did you start off with?
Back then the grime scene was really hot. Like people like Wiley, Dizzy Rascal, Crazy Titch, all those guys were up there in the game, so everything was about, yeah, being a grime MC, especially coming from South London. Yeah, so that was where I started off on, so I tried to make some grime beats and then I kind of got bored of it, so I just wanted to experiment. So I went to the library, I got a stack of like classical CDs to get samples from and stuff, just to experiment and see how it worked, and from there, that's when I started involving in the music properly.
And what type of music was you listening to though in your spare time, just like artists, when you was producing grime?
I used to listen to a lot of classical music. That helped me a lot with where I'm at now in regards to orchestration, knowing the levels of different sounds and percussion. I used to listen to classical music a lot. My mum was always playing reggae in the house, and personally, my first album was Craig David's Born to Do It album, so that gave me a good feel for the proper sound and what I was wanting to do with the music.
Oh, you got this copy of Fruity Loops on your PC, and then how did you build them from then? Was it always software based, or did you get any hardware in?
It was always software based in the early days. It was just a case of just making what I could on Fruity Loops at the time with the knowledge that I had. And just trial and error. Everything that I've done so far up until this date, I've never had any lessons in mixing or anything like that. It's all just been trial and error, reading books, just trying to teach myself and train myself, and also training my ear as to how something should sound, or getting an idea of how it should sound. So
talk about training your ear, and what do you use to teach yourself? So obviously a lot of people talk about going to SAE and different college schools and all the rest of the usual online tutorials as well. Do you?
I think a lot of things work for different people. Me personally, I'm not very keen on being taught hands-on by someone. Even doing something, I like to find out for myself and try it myself first, and then if I feel that I'm not getting it right, then I'll go to that person and say, okay, I need help to do this. So for me, it was a case of going on the internet. YouTube wasn't as big in that time, but there was a lot of like websites that had little videos on their pages, and it helped just being able to read and then doing it while I was doing it, etc. My music magazines like Music Tech and Computer Music and stuff like that, they always have good articles in their magazines to learn from. Okay,
and your own setup, what is that based around? Are you a Mac or Go or PC?
Yeah, I'm on a Mac at the moment. I'm using a MacBook Pro in my personal studio. I started off on PC because obviously Fruity Loops is PC based. From there I went on to Reason, and then dabbled a bit in Cubase, and then I eventually got into Logic. This is like in the last 3 years I got into Logic. And started using a Mac. So I've got a MacBook Pro, a G5 in there, and they're the two babies.
So for the creation of actual sounds, you're using a lot of plugins,
I tend to keep that minimal as well, because I like to, like I said, I like to experiment, and I find that you can reuse, for example, one sound a million different ways if you take the time to go into the sound or the plugin and see what it can do. So I use native instruments, like Massive. I use Rob Papin. I use yeah, a few of those stuff, E-Magic and stuff. But I don't tend to use, say for example, if I'm making a track, I won't bring them all up and say, yeah, I'm gonna get a sound from each one. I just tend to use one and just get like a main sound from it. Okay. The rest of the time it's just drum samples, using the default sounds in the program and just EQing them to how I want them to sound and stuff.
So you're effectively creating your own sound library,
exactly.
in effect, yeah, which is unique to you as
exactly.
opposed to... Yeah. Okay, yeah, and obviously that takes quite a lot more time as well, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So how long does it take you normally to produce to come up with a track from start to finish, like when you're working on a project?
It varies. I mean, if I've got an idea in my head already of what I want to make, that tends to take longer than if I was to go into the studio and freestyle something. So I like to go studio with an open mind and just say, okay, I've got an idea of what I would like to create, but just keep it free in the respect of, okay, I'm not going to leave this to be a hip hop beat or R&B. I'm just going to make something. And even if it's an alternative track, even if you can't mark it with a genre, that was just the vibe at the time. So I normally just make my productions based on how I feel, and basically whatever happens.
Do you do a lot of live instrumentation? Do you record session players, or getting the sounds into your tracks?
I haven't actually worked with any major, or I should say dedicated musicians at the moment. I know a few that I'll be hoping to work with this year. In regards to actually putting live instruments into my tracks, I do fiddle around with, like, I'm not a fluent guitarist or pianist or anything, but I can play the keys, I know the melodies. So most recently I've done a track for an artist called Antique, and she's aiming to make live music, concert music, festival music. So a track that I made her, I played through the live drums on the keyboard like it was someone actually playing it, and then just played in a simple electric guitar loop for the lead sound, and that sounds really good. Okay.